The one being is like the creation of the universe deep. Hello, nerds. It's the one episode this week, so we have some housekeeping to get to. We'll get to that after the intro. This is going to be a full episode, so if you are not ready for approximately an hour worth of news, then maybe you might want to just wait for the clips that I'm going to be posting over the next few days, because I post the sections as videos unto themselves after I've posted the entire episode. So stay tuned for all of that if you don't want to sit through the hour. Otherwise, welcome, nerds. Here is an intro. All right, so housekeeping real quick, nerds, before we get into the proper news. This is going to be the only episode this week. Two reasons why. And if it had only been one of these two things, maybe we could have made the second episode work. But because it is both of these two things, it's not happening. So just going to have to do the news once this week, because we have F9 this weekend. So as you're watching this, I'm probably watching F9 for the review over on The Big Show. And then this weekend, I have a family reunion that I am driving to the next state over to do. So that family reunion potentially will be the last one I am able to attend for quite some time. So because of that, I decided it was worth it to try and make this happen. Either way, one episode of the Nerd News this week. Next week, we will be back to our regularly scheduled news and hopefully streams and or reaction videos on the YouTube channel. Streams on the Twitch or reaction videos on the YouTube channel. I don't think I'll be able to pull out both of those, but probably one of those. This new day job work schedule is a little rough, not gonna lie. Anyway, all of that is the housekeeping, so let's jump into news. First thing is music news, as is generally the case. Music news, we have a few things to talk about. First, I'm gonna switch up the order of this a little bit. We're gonna start with some new videos. We have new video from Garbage for their new song, The Creeps, which is off of their new record, No Gods, No Masters, which was released on the 11th of June. I am actually going to go watch Garbage when they come through with Alanis Morissette. We talked about that tour a couple of videos ago. So got my tickets. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not going to lie. This will be my second time seeing Garbage. Anyway, other new noteworthy music videos are Fear Factory has released the first video for their new record, and as we've talked about previously, the final record with Burton C. Bell, the longtime vocalist for the band. The name of the video is Recode, and it comes again from Aggression Continuum, which is that final Burton C. Bell record, presumably. Those are the only noteworthy videos. We do have a couple of tours that have been announced since we last spoke. First up, we're talking about Limp Bizkit, which is weird to say in 2021 because it's been so long since we've got anything of relevance from them. But yeah, going on tour with Spirit Box, which is a very interesting choice for Fred and the boys. Just kicks off July 29th in Chicago, runs through August 24th. Link in the show notes, and if you are interested in getting tickets for it. It's not a whole lot of dates. I think it's only like 6 dates right now. Hopefully they will be adding to it though. Next we're talking about, and this one is the headliners are not necessarily why I wanted to talk about this, but We Came as Romans are going on tour. The Devil Wears Prada is going to be the secondary, the co-head, not a co-headline, the just below the headline. But they're also Dayseeker, Hollow Front are also going to be there for support. This is the rescheduled Plant a Seed tour that was supposed to happen, and then COVID hit. So we start September 29th in Philadelphia for that tour. And then Thrice is also announced. They are going on tour with Touche, Amore, Jim Ward, who will only be in the Texas dates, and Self Defense Family starting September 24th in Houston, Texas. And then the biggest tour announcement for this episode, I mean, aside from Limp Bizkit, because arguably Limp Bizkit has sold dozens, if not hundreds of millions of more records than AFI, but AFI has announced that they are going on tour. Their tour is going to be supported by a band called Cold Cave, who I think I've heard through, vicariously, but never actually paid attention to. They will be kicking off February 11th in San Diego of 2022, and they'll be running through March 25th. So that is new videos and tours. We do have one actual news piece. See, we're switching things up a little bit. One actual news piece, and that has to do with Shadows Fall. Throwback to all of you thrash metal fans. Shadows Fall, big when Killswitch Engage first blew up with their first record. Shadows Fall also blew up right about the same time, but did not have quite the same success as Killswitch for reasons unknown. But they are doing a reunion show. Right now it is only 2 days. No, I apologize. It is 1 day. I was thinking it was Saturday and Sunday, but it's just Saturday, December 18th. It will be at the Palladium in Massachusetts. The other bands on the bill, this is quite a bill. We have Unearth, Darkest Hour, Within Ruins, Sworn Enemy, and Carnivora. Every one of those bands, with the exception of Carnivora, because I'm not sure I've ever actually listened to them, but every other one of those bands is going to kill it. And Shadows Fall, definitely one of my favorite of the metalcore era. Not that I would ever classify Shadows Fall as metalcore, just reasons we're not going to get into. But yeah, great news for all of you Shadows Fall fans, all of you Brian Fair and everybody else in that band, because they're all incredible musicians. But yeah, so reunion show December 18th in Massachusetts. Go if you can. Unfortunately, I probably will not be able to. That is the music section, though, nerds. Let's talk about gaming and tech. So no E3. Sad day, but it is what it is. We do have some stuff to talk about, though. First, we're going to talk about Fortnite. Fortnite's newest season is called Cosmic Summer. Just kind of wanted to... It started on the 23rd, so as you're watching this, it was 2 days ago. Or a day ago. I don't remember exactly when this is going up. But yeah, so 23rd of June... You get returning LTMs, creative islands, you get creative challenges, free reward. This is according to the official Twitter account, by the way, and new and returning summer outfits for purchase. Link in the description for more in-depth details on that. But yes, that is Fortnite's new season. So in news, we have Minecraft in the news, and this one's a lot of fun. With the 30th anniversary of Sonic happened this week. Sonic DLC is coming to Minecraft. You will be able to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, and then the press release goes on to say, and more. So I'm not super familiar with any of the other characters beyond that list of characters, so I'm gonna have you educate me in the comment section. But yeah, very interesting there. Also of note with this Sonic announcement is that the Chao Garden is making a return. Now, the concept of the Chao Garden was initially introduced in the Dreamcast, the very first Sonic Adventures game, which was amazing. You put your Chao, you could take your Chao out of the garden, put it in a memory card, and it was like a Tamagotchi or a Gigapet or any one of those digital pets, and you raced it, and you could link your memory cards because they had those little screens on them. You could link your memory card with your friend, and you could battle Chaos, and it was amazing. I know it's probably pronounced cow because it's chaos, and they're named after Chaos Emeralds, but it sounds, because they don't moo and they're not black and white, it just doesn't sound right to call them cows. But yes, so the Chao Garden will be making its return to video games for the first time in a very long time, but not in the way fans necessarily wanted, because it's in Minecraft and not in a Sonic Adventures game. Beggars can't be choosers, though, and that is what we have for that. Our final piece in video games is actually one that I got the lead for this, and I did the research beyond this, but I got the lead for this from my local news, which is weird, but it's Super Mario World, rather. The SNES launch title just got a new ROM hack, which is very interesting in that it takes the traditional 4:3 ratio and expands it to 16:9. So it is the exact same game as far as I've seen, as far as any of these announcements have been. It is exactly the same game, just with the new aspect ratio. The ROM hacker that is involved with this, Vitor Villela, I apologize that I definitely mispronounced that, said that he released the ROM on GitHub, so if you're interested, you can probably find it there, unless it's been taken down by Nintendo, which is also highly probable. But yeah, if it's still up on GitHub, that's the place to get it. He has also said that he will be working on other aspect ratios for this right now, but all that is available currently is either the traditional ROM hack or the 16:9 ROM hack. Either way, Super Mario 16, it's high def, technically awesome. That is the gaming section, nerds. We actually have a little bit of comic books to dive into real quick as well. A little bit, not a lot, but enough to get us by. We have, first up, we're talking about the X-Men. Let's talk real quick about what's going on right now in the world of Marvel's X-Men. So, just kind of spoiler alert, if you're not up to date on the general news of what's going on, then you might want to skip forward a little bit, but this isn't like huge story. It's a little big. All right, so one of the main facets of the X-Men universe is their struggle for acceptance. That is why it is a great allegory for you insert whatever marginalized section of the populace into their allegory, right? So when it was first done, it was a race thing. In the early 90s, when the cartoon was huge, it was a sex thing. It had to do with, sexual orientation and well, have you tried to not be a mutant? Kind of in parallel with what was going on in real world. Have you tried to not be gay? Those kind of things. So that is why the X-Men mesh well with the real world, why they are so popular, why Stan Lee was actually part of the creative team that did that, was because that was something that was needed. It was a way to work through everyday problems in such a way so as you can say, oh, well, it was just allegory. It wasn't anything specific. You could work things out that way. In the current story arc, the X-Men just created their own planet. So therein removes all, granted, authors are talented people, writers for comic books are definitely talented people, so there is going to still be some sort of conflict involved here, but the conflict is because you're literally removing all of the mutants from the regular people. You're removing the reason that this comic was created. Anything else that you write, any other conflict you can come up with for these characters is going to come off as bland. By comparison, is going to come off as lackluster, as, all of these mediocre to poor describing words are going to be used for every story while this is a thing. It was questionable, but still acceptable when Claremont created Krakoa, and they had their own country, not continent, but country. That was kind of a lesser degree of this, but there was still, they're still interacting in the regular world. They're still going out and doing things and trying to mend bridges and all of this, but now they don't need to. Because they took Araco, I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's not in the notes because I just wanted to freeform this one, but they took the country that they created, Krakoa, and the physical landmass has a different name, and they put that on their new world, which is just terraformed version of Mars, but this is not what makes this comic amazing. This is not why people latch on to the X-Men. This is ridiculous. So yeah, I'm going to hand that one off to you. What do you guys think of what is currently going on in the X-Men books? Let me know in the comments down low. We got 2 more things to cover for comic books section. First is Denver Comic-Con has announced what their Denver Fan Expo is going to be October 29th, 30th, and 31st. And then Salt Lake Comic-Con, aka Salt Lake Fan X, is going to be September 16th, 17th, and 18th. That is the comics section, nerds. So, TV streaming is kind of piddly by comparison to how large it normally is. I think this is due, at least in part, to the fact that everything that we usually talk about has no real announcements because everything's filming. Walking Dead is filming. Boba Fett is, I believe, close to finishing season 1, the book of Boba Fett. So yeah, there's not a whole lot going on, but we do have a couple of things. Also, structure for this is going to change a little bit slightly as well. We are adding noteworthy trailers, so we'll get to that. First, though, we do have a follow-up on The Boys. This is more casting for season 3. Sean Patrick Flannery, Nick Weschler, Miles Gaston Villanueva, all have been cast for season 3 of The Boys. Now, interesting thing here, only one of these 3 actors is playing an actual character from the books, and that is Sean Patrick Flannery. And actually, the character that Flannery is going to be playing has kind of technically already been in The Boys, just played by a different actor. So strange, but it was only a single episode, and I'm pretty sure it was kind of a passing reference to Gunpowder. It's the name of the character. The name of the hero, quote-unquote hero, I guess. So he will be played by Sean Patrick Flannery going forward. The other 2 characters, Villanueva will be playing Supersonic, and Weschler will be playing Blue Hawk, both of which have been made up strictly for the TV show. So again, just a real quick follow-up on casting. Season 3 is currently filming, so we are not super far away from getting its release on Amazon Prime, but we are not there yet, so we're moving on. And then trailers. I apologize. Trailers is next. We do have a new trailer for season 3 of Titans. Wow, that's it looks like season 3 is just going to keep going crazy, which is great. So August 12th is when that will start coming out. It'll be 3 episodes on 12th, and then it'll be 1 episode a week until October 21st. So, yes, please, and thank you. And then the other trailer of note that just came out this morning, as I'm filming this, is the American Horror Stories trailer, which, again, just to keep you up, American Horror Stories is the anthology version of the American Horror Story franchise. So each episode will stand on its own, effectively. And it is going to be directly to Hulu. It's called FX on Hulu, which means they're just releasing it straight to Hulu, even though it's technically an FX property. And July 15th will be the first episode for that. And that is all we have for the TV streaming section, nerds. So let's get into movies. We have a couple of big ones. We do have a couple of follow-ups as well, and we're also going to add a trailer section here. So follow-ups first, we have Transformers. The subtitle for the movie has been released, Rise of the Beasts. Release date is still June 24th of 22. And then we have Snow White. We have casting for the main character, in the titular character, obviously, in the live action version of the movie, and that is Rachel Ziegler, cast as Snow White. So that, I mean, we're not going to get into the politics involved there, but it is an announcement. It is news. We must talk about it. I'm not going to talk about the social political things that are going on around this announcement. We're just going to move right along. And with that, we're talking trailers. First is, and probably most noteworthy here, is the Suicide Squad trailer released from DC, Warner Brothers, and the Discovery thing that is that new entity. And then Snake Eyes released a new trailer, and Scooby-Doo, straight out of nowhere, released a trailer. Now, that one kind of, we have to give a little bit more lip service than just saying, hey, go check out the trailer, because Scooby-Doo, there's a million different iterations. This is the cast that has Matthew Lillard still voicing Shaggy, so it's pretty much all of the returning voice actors are doing the voices for this show. But it's also noteworthy because if you catch that subtitle, Straight Out of Nowhere, it is a reference to a place, a fictional place from the Cartoon Network universe of cartoons, where Courage the Cowardly Dog lives. So this is going to be, in fact, a crossover movie between Scooby and the gang, so all of the gang presumably will be there. And Courage, I can't remember Courage's owners' names, but they're going to be there too. It just looks so bizarre. If you've never watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, you're only a Scooby-Doo fan, this might be right up your alley just because of the nature of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Lots of supernatural and ghostly things involved with that series as well. So, yeah. Sounds pretty awesome. That's what we have for trailers. Let's talk about news. This is a huge one. Mortal Kombat, another animated movie, is coming out in little over a month. Battle of the Realms is going to be the subtitle, whereas the last one was Scorpion's Revenge, which was a little bit of a misnomer. Battle of the Realms seems to be, it is going to be the continuation of the story that was told in the first movie, but I really would be surprised if they focus again on Scorpion in any major way. There has been some casting that is noteworthy, so I'm gonna touch on this. I know I don't generally go through the entire cast list, and we probably won't do that here, but we are gonna go through some noteworthy character additions at the very least. So Joel McHale and Jennifer Carpenter will be back as Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. A bunch of other returning names: Jordan Rodriguez, Patrick Seitz, Art Butler, so on and so forth, Robert Atkin Downs. The characters, though, that these guys are going to be voicing, we have Liu Kang, obviously. Patrick Seitz, obviously, is going to be Scorpion Hanzo. But Art Butler is going to voice Cyrax, so we're going to be getting Cyrax and Sector. Sector is also listed. He's just not voiced by Art Butler. Robin Atkin Downs is going to be Shinnok and Raiko. Very interesting. Raiden and Kintaro and Sector are going to be voiced by Dave B. Mitchell. So Sector, see, I told you. Jax and the One Being are going to be voiced by Ike Amadi. The One Being, how much lore are they going to cover in this? Wow, the One Being, that's amazing. Gray Griffin will be Katana, Satoshi Hasashi, and Molina. I don't know who Satoshi Hasashi is. Hanzo's wife, I would presume. And then Fred Tadasquare, maybe, will be voicing Shao Kahn. So there have been some new additions. Matthew Mercer, who previously has done voices for Mortal Kombat related things, will be the voice of, once again, Stryker and Smoke. Thank you very much. Bernardo Di Margula, Bayardo, I apologize, will be Sub-Zero Kuai Liang. Matt Yang King will be Kung Lao. Paul Nakauchi will be the Lin Kuei Grand Master. Again, lots of lore implied in just this casting announcement. Emily O'Brien will be Jade, and Deborah Wilson will be Devora. Yes, probably not that Deborah Wilson. Probably just another lucky voice actor, I guess you could say. So yeah, a lot of implied lore here. The One Being is getting a voice. That is the part that's really blowing my mind, because not to get too deep into Mortal Kombat lore, because, you know, my preferred fandom, but still, the One Being is like the creation of the universe deep in Mortal Kombat lore. Like, legitimately, that is where the One Being comes from. So they're just going to be Kamidogu. Are they going to do the Kamidogus like daggers, or are they going to do more along the lines of the Deception storyline, where they're parts of an amulet, and that amulet gets put together, and that's what gives Shinnok the power, and so on and so on and so on. So just a lot of speculation. Super excited about August. August 31st, I apologize, is the release date for this movie. It will be straight to video once again. So video and video on demand, both on the same day. Once again, August 31st. Moving right along, because otherwise we're just going to spend way too much time talking about Mortal Kombat. We do have a really interesting piece that has to do with Netflix. Now, technically, this probably should have gone into streaming just to kind of beef up the streaming section, but it really has more to do with movies than streaming in a series kind of way. So Amblin, Amblin Partners is the name of the production company now. It used to be Amblin Productions, or Amblin Entertainment is the old name. Now it's Amblin Partners, which is the company that Steven Spielberg owns. Just signed a deal with Netflix that's going to include multiple movie releases from Amblin on Netflix over the next few years. Multiple movie releases per year over the next, beyond that, it's speculation as to how long it's going to last and so on and so forth. But this is very noteworthy because Spielberg has kind of, in the past, made some disparaging remarks about specifically Netflix, but really more generally talking about the demise of cinema because of streaming platforms. And now he is enabling a streaming platform. Now, it just came out, this news broke a couple of days ago, and it just came out this morning before I filmed today, that it's not very likely, now because we don't know the exact details of the contract that they have struck up. The contract does exist, so that part is legitimate, but it is not super likely that any of the higher profile movies that Amblin is going to be creating over the next few years will be the movies that get selected to be released on Netflix. And also very unlikely is anything that Steven Spielberg himself does will very likely not be released directly to Netflix. It will get a theatrical release and then presumably eventually will be released on Netflix as well. So it's not as gigantic as maybe it could have been, but this is still a sign of the times kind of thing. So I don't know. Take it for what it is. It is what it is, and we're moving on. Next, we're talking about Black Adam. This one is noteworthy. This technically is a follow-up, but it's kind of a little too noteworthy to just be a follow-up. Pierce Brosnan recently revealed that his costume as Dr. Fate is going to be motion capture, meaning CG. Did we not learn our lesson last time? Like the last two times, technically, because Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, the reason, one of the large reasons anyway, that the third act really falls apart has to do with the fact that there's a crazy over-reliance on CG. And then very large part of why Green Lantern got so critically panned is because of their over-reliance on CG. Granted, there was also story issues and acting issues and so on and so forth in the Green Lantern, but like, wow, this is kind of a thing that you shouldn't be doing yet, unless you're creating a character that is largely CG because he's King Shark or something along those lines. This just seems like somebody's going to be shooting themselves in the foot, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. That's all we've really got for that. We're going to move to our next one, and that is Scoob, the animated Scooby-Doo series, or the animated Scooby-Doo movie, the 3D animated movie that came out previously called Scoob in 2000. It was early into the Covey. It was pretty good, but it wasn't the greatest Scooby movie I've ever seen. It did apparently well enough, though, that it is getting a sequel. The entire cast, as far as I know... Oh, no, let's take that back. This is confirmed from the original director, Tony Cervoni. He recently confirmed that they are in early work on the sequel for the Scoob movie, which is pretty freaking awesome. And then our final piece of movie news has to do with an announcement. And this one might have been something that I let slip through the cracks before because it was relatively minor and there was still a strong possibility it wasn't actually going to see the light of day. Well, now it seems like it is, and that is Tower of Terror. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we've touched on this in a previous episode, but we could have. The reason we're talking about it today, though, aside from letting you know that it is going to be turned into a movie, the Tower of Terror, the ride at Disneyland, they're turning it into a movie. This is not the first time they've done it. They did it previously in 1997, I want to say. This time, however, one of the producers and the star are both going to be Scarlett Johansson. The 97 version of the movie was very supernatural based. It does not seem that is likely this time around just because of the inclusion of Scarlett Johansson, but we will definitely be keeping tabs on it because it's just kind of a weird thing. But that is everything we have to talk about in movies. And now, the final section, and that is the rumor mill. And actually, the rumor mill, we don't normally get a whole lot of video game rumors. Looks like every one of our rumors, save for a refutation rather, they're all video game related. So, let's dive in. First, we're going to be talking about that refutation, and that refutation has to do with Amber Heard's involvement with Aquaman 2. There were rumors saying that she was going to be fired, replaced, yada, 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 yada. Some of those rumors could still theoretically be true because they didn't say that she was going to be removed from the project. They just said that she was going to have a lesser role. So that could still happen. But it is now official. She is, in fact, going to be in the movie, as announced by James Wan and Heard herself, and so on and so forth. So, refutation there. Moving into actual rumors, we first have Quake rumor. So, FPS players from way back in the day on the PC. You might be getting something you've been asking for years. Quake is rumored to be in the works over at id Software. I'm pretty sure they pronounce it as id. It's just the same company that's always had the rights because they created it. Also the same company that created Doom, with Doom getting the popularity that it has with the last 2 iterations of that game. It only makes sense that something that technically still has like professional tournament players playing it only makes sense that they would try and capitalize on that. So I as far as validity of this rumor, I'm gonna put this at about 75. Not quite 80, because like it still feels, it's because of the source largely, but it still feels like there is a bit of a possibility this won't happen. But I mean, id wants to make money. Doom kind of needs to take a rest because we have that amazing Doom game out right now. So let them try and make something else amazing. Next, we're talking about Dead Space. This one has actually kind of been brewing for about a month and is going to continue to brew and probably get larger for another month approximately. But sometime in July, we are going to be made aware, apparently, of a new Dead Space game. Now, the rumor does not elaborate on whether or not it's going to be a new entry into the franchise or if it's going to be a reboot entirely. I would honestly not be surprised either way, but because of that vagary and because we have been getting some kind of sort of teases from EA and such, I'm gonna give this one a little bit over. Like, I don't necessarily want to go over 50% because of the weak nature of this. It only comes from one source. That one source isn't super great. One source doesn't cite any reasoning behind it. They just say, this is a thing. So we're going to put this one at about 60%. I do see this. It has been a long dormant franchise. Definitely makes sense for them to want to do this. But until we get a little bit more corroborating information, can't go super high. So, moving along, we have another Grand Theft Auto 6 rumor. This one not necessarily as impactful as previous Grand Theft Auto rumors we've talked about, but it's interesting. This rumor says that it's not anything to do with the main character. It's not anything to do with the storyline necessarily, but it is to do with maybe somebody who's going to do just a little bit more than a cameo, and that's Dr. Dre. Very interesting. There's a website that seems to be tied to Dr. Dre, like Dr. Dre Beats producer guy. There is a website that Take-Two has recently bought. I forget exactly what it is, but it's very similar to a thing that Dre has done. Dre actually did have a cameo in Grand Theft Auto Online very recently, so we know the two of them are working together. This website involvement with a name that sounds very similar to another project he's done seems to imply some sort of variation on that project for the Grand Theft Auto universe. A couple of things swirling around here that kind of definitely corroborate this information, so we're going to put this one up to about 70%. The reason we didn't go any higher than that is largely because of all of the reasons we went that high. Because he has already been in a game. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be in another game. Could be that he's going to have another cameo in the same game he was in because it's Grand Theft Auto Online, and you know that's kind of the nature of an online game. So Grand Theft Auto 6, possibly not. Grand Theft Auto Online, maybe. Moving on, though, because that's all we've got on that one. The final rumor for this rumor mill and the final piece for this episode has to do with Silent Hill. This time, we have actual tease from Konami and Jeff Knightley, I don't remember. The guy that does the Game Awards. He's close friends with Hideo Kojima. So he teased a thing on the Twitters, and also before he did, the reason that he teased the thing was because Konami teased a thing as well. So Konami put up an image of pyramid head and said coming soon. It was actually Konami Store, not the proper Konami developer Twitter page, but the Konami Store page. So probably, very likely, a t-shirt or something along those lines, but also possibly a game implication, especially with the Jeff Keighley tease on top of it. Him being friends with Kojima kind of fuels this fire. So I'm going to be apprehensive until this happens, but I'm also going to be optimistic that it will happen. Either way, I'm putting this one. Oh man, last time I feel like we were in about the 60s, and I really don't feel like we can go any higher than that. So I'm gonna say we'll put it at 68%, just because if I go any higher than that, I'm really pushing the bounds of logic. But because the logical thing here is that it's going to be some sort of merch and not a new game, especially considering the image that Konami Store posted. It seems to be a graphic tee design and not something implying an actual game. Either way, it's fun to hope and dream, but this also the comes from a couple of different places, and one of those other places implies that PT is also going to be part of this revival, not just the Silent Hills game, but also the playable trailer. So, man, at the very least, that's the thing that puts this up over 60%, because that would be just such an amazing thing for Konami to do. But that, guys, is the end of the rumor mill. It's also the end of the episode. So what did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net, patreon.com/generallynerdy to become a patron and support more directly. There should be buttons and things that you should be able to tap over there. Sorry. No? There. Over here that you can see other things going on here on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Thank you very much, nerds. Before I go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.